Welcome into the program. It is the Mosley Show, and we are pleased to bring you in. Scotty Swingler with me, as always, and we got a lot planned for you today, and it got even bigger a little bit ago. I was amused earlier today reading all the chatter about the college football playoff that one man was brave enough out there in the media, a long-time legendary voice, and he used to be at ESPN, but he was brave enough to take down the mighty Kirk Herbstreit and all the people on game day, and it was Tim Brando. And so, you know, Tim and I have been going back and forth this year, and then quite honestly, I kind of, moved in. I was been more involved in this Baylor stuff, so I didn't really think about it lately. And when I saw Brando going off this morning on the SEC, I just said, look, I need to circle back with Tim. And you know what he said, Scott? This is why you don't ever forget about people. He just said, hey, what time you need me? What time you need me? So at about 1:30 today, Tim Brando will join us. Now, Scotty, we'll have to stay. I think you've sent him an email. I've sent him via phone. We're gonna, Tim's probably a little bit more like me when it comes to technology. We got to make sure we get him. He's a man that you hand him a mic and get him talking. But surely he's done enough of these Zooms and everything. He'll be fine. He'll be fine. Tim Brando today at 1:30. And then also, Scotty, did you happen to notice? And I got to get with our people. I got to get back on a basketball schedule because like 1 week we have Nikki and 1 week we have Scott. We got to get on. We got to kind of get. We had the holidays hit, and I think we're due Scott this week. But we need to kind of get back with Nikki. So we either need to double up and have them both on this week, or we need to decide who we want this week and have the other one the following week. Scotty, off top of your head, we had the Baylor women beat the dog out of Grambling. Now, don't they have though a battle coming up against University of Texas, which is like number 2 in the country or something? Isn't that happening up in Fort Worth? I'm trying to decide if I want to talk to Nikki leading into that game, or we want to visit with her coming off of that game.
Well, tomorrow they're playing the mighty Southeastern Louisiana Lions.
Watch out. Watch out for those Lions. When is that mighty game against the Horns, who are literally now the net rankings? If you look at the net rankings, Scotty, it doesn't help us. So we're not going to really talk about the net rankings. Somebody else.
That game is 2 weekends ahead.
Away from us now?
Yeah,
give me the date on that game.
Sunday the 14th.
What is today, the 2nd?
Yes, sir.
So let's do Scott this week, and then maybe Nikki heading into that game, that Sunday game, if that sounds okay. All right. I like to plan these things out on the show. Are we actually on, Scotty? Hey, by the way, thank you for our Twitter audience. Scotty yesterday had he's on top of everything. And I noticed yesterday, man, the Baylor, any kind of Baylor, and then we shared it, all the archived information, and I was able to give some updates on kind of what I know about the Baylor search. Scotty, the thing is, I hear things and I talk to people, and I just throw it out there. And then, of course, I see other people come back with this and that, and it's good. It's good. We need to do that right now. Now, tomorrow, Scotty, clear the decks. There is a chance I'll be live in our Waco studio tomorrow. What I'd like to do is attend. I'm thinking of attending the Aranda pledge class. That's right. The Fiji pledge class will be announced tomorrow. No, the Baylor recruiting class, the early signing day is tomorrow. Dave's going to do media availability at noon. Now, Scotty, I want to go over there and any sort of access, and I don't know. I mean, Dave may be in the mood. He's been given a get out of jail free card By the way, I've got people that watch this show that are telling me, be nicer to Dave, be nicer to Dave. Well, and listen, this is all professional. I'm very respectful. You would be hard pressed to find anything rude or, I don't know. I can't remember anything. I've been extremely respectful toward Dave, but I'm getting some pushback here lately from people in the industry. Why are you so negative? Well, what do you want me to do? Like, come out here and say this is like beautiful. He's back. Let's all celebrate. Like, in some ways, I got to at least, I think when I ask these questions and interview people and things like that, I've got to represent the voice of the fan to a certain extent. Now, I'm not saying do I want Baylor to win? Do I want Baylor to get a great AD? Absolutely. But I don't really behave like a fan. When I'm there tomorrow, I'll be questioning, I'll be asking Dave questions. Now, I think sometimes people that are listening to us and out there want us to show up with pitchforks and, Dave, why, kind of go after him. There is a decorum that takes place. All right. I mean, you can ask interesting or tough questions without having to be like in some sort of dramatic, over the top way, like, Dave, why are you back? Why are you here today? No, we're not doing. Tomorrow will be about asking about the recruiting class. Yes, you've lost some people. What's your reaction to that? How's the staff? And basically we got to start asking about what's going to happen with the staff. As I said yesterday, I think there'll be a new AD soon. There'll be a new defensive coordinator soon, I think. There'll be changes. And again, Spavital for now is still here. And I think the offense, while the running game wasn't what you'd hoped it would be, I think there are some mitigating factors there in terms of injuries and other things that you got to hope you can retain Spavital. I think he's shown enough promise over the last couple of seasons that I would try to retain him and then try to retain a lot of the staff that has helped put this class together. I know it's, we're in kind of a gotcha mood. President Livingstone referred in that letter to the talented recruiting class. Well, she didn't know they were all about to start jumping ship. She was hoping that keeping Aranda, and by the way, Scotty, I'll point you toward some of the reaction on Sikkim and other places when they said they were bringing Aranda. I know all the fans were mad and angry, but there were people saying maybe this would help keep this class together. Well, we all know when we started seeing Jamarian Carlton show up down there at UT to a packed house, 105,000 against A&M, we didn't love our chances, especially when the next day after he was doing that, the Bears go out and play Houston. I mean, I wish, Scotty, these recruits, these 17, 18-year-old kids were more considerate of our feelings, right? Do they really have to, announce that they're decommitting and committing to Texas, as the game's ending, as everybody's sad that Bears are not going to a bowl game? Is that the best time to put it out there? I mean, are we not crushed enough? Are we not all in our feelings enough? But yeah, we've got that to deal with and everybody. And Scotty, I'll tell you this, as we do this, I'm going to check. I'm going to make sure I do. By the way, Tim Brando, who we're going to have on at 1:30, here's what he said. He was saying he went out yesterday, he was talking about, he said, the predictable propaganda. This is Tim Brando. And Scotty, I think I sent you this tweet, spewed by Greg Sankey, that's the commissioner, before the season in Texas football from Coach Sark last night was and is laughable. So he was putting this out there on Saturday. He said, I discussed this weeks ago, and thankfully, after flying my red eye home from Arizona, all the ESPN gurus with their all-state playoff predictor didn't disappoint. He said, at Feinbaum, Sark, quote, Sark was eloquent last night. Kirk Herbstreit said strength of schedule, blah, blah, blah. That never-ending pure playoff privilege is once again on full display. Other than ESPN Booger, as he was last year, seemingly is without SEC's agenda. The rest simply take their usual marching orders. You would think 5 out of 12 teams would be enough. No, not in the it just means more league. They'll not stop spinning yarn until they get 6 of the 12 teams in. A lot has changed this year in CFB. Sadly, not this. Pure playoff privilege. Oh, man. He said, Brando came back and said SEC Invitational, a.k.a. at CFB playoff. Somebody said, show us on the doll where the SEC hurt you. Brando says, I've said many times the SEC was great for and to me, but truth serum hurts you and many others when it's finally spoken. Oh, man. And then he says, somebody says, we can't stand you. We know how much you hate Texas. He said, made my night. He said, thanks. I don't hate, never wanted to live my life in such a manner. If you choose to hate, go right ahead. In fact, count on me annoying the likes of you for quite a while. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Wow. That's unbelievable. And then they start coming at him, and then he goes right back at him. Wow. He tells them to get a damn grip. Realize some damn good teams preside outside your beloved SEC. It's fine. It's good. It's healthy. I mean, some of this is what they wanted with this dang committee. Let's get the talk. Let's get all the excitement. Let's talk. Now, again, another thing that I'm tired of, the horrible schedule. These poor coaches, spare me. We'll hear it tomorrow. I'm sure somebody will ask, Dave, what do you think could be done to the calendar? I mean, they're right. I mean, if you got the playoff done earlier, and if you push back signing day to February like it used to be, and you did the portal differently, and you let a lot of this stuff actually play out rather than have all the coaching changes. But again, changing the calendar would not stop teams from firing their coaches early and then trying to talk to other coaches. It's not going to it might have somehow helped Lane get to coach, Ole Miss in the playoff without having to go. But all of this seems so disingenuous. It's like, who in their right mind thought, and again, there were people out there with the talking points. Chris Doering, Booger was saying it, let Lane coach. Let Lane coach. What planet are we on with that crowd that you can go have a press conference and then come back and coach a team that's big rivals with the team you just went to? Like, how does that make any sense to anybody? It makes sense. Man, I heard somebody, Oklahoma State's letting their guy do it. Oklahoma State. It's not the same. That's the AAC, what UNT's in, and Oklahoma State's in the Big 12. Will he try to take a few players with him? Yeah. But the truth is, you need different players in the Big 12. You need different players in the SEC. Like, I kind of respected that Sumrall, who's coming from Tulane, basically was saying, I've told all of my Tulane recruits to still go to Tulane. Now, part of that is he knows a lot of those kids can't play for Florida. All right? Part of that is he's being a cool stand-up guy. But a lot of it is, I'm at Florida now, and it's going to take a certain kind of athlete to compete in the SEC. I don't think Napier's problem was recruiting necessarily. I think they had, the stud quarterback. They had all kinds of athletes on defense. At times they played pretty good defense. I saw them against A&M. I mean, they had some guys at receiver who were studs. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, Napier's not getting any recruits. That didn't happen. Just like he wasn't ready. He didn't know how to truly be the kind of CEO. But by the way, he's not alone. I mean, name me the last Florida coach who hit. I'll wait. I mean, the guy, they thought Dan Mullen would be a great hire because he'd been great at Mississippi State. Didn't work out. They thought the guy from Colorado State, he'd be a great hire. Where is he now? He's out running around somewhere, out in the hinterlands of college football. And Mullins, I think, back coaching maybe UNLV. The Baylor's possible coaching AD target, by the way, Jeremiah Dickey. What are they doing this year? Well, they're back. They're back in the playing in the Mountain West championship game. UNLV, I think like 4 or 5 teams tied at 6-2, and they, for whatever reason, with their opponents, I guess A&M, for instance, could claim an SEC title this year. They're 7-1 with everybody else. How did those teams get to the championship game? It's their opponent's winning percentage. A&M can claim a co-SEC title. I didn't even think about that until right now, until I was just talking. Scotty, if you want to put up 2025 SEC champs, I guess you can do it. But the true champion will come out of that, conference championship game. The thing about Baylor and TCU that year is they didn't have one. So then they didn't have that dreaded data point. All right. So I guess that still is how you do this. This is dumb. Having these title games now is dumb. Like the loser of the Big Ten championship game will probably still get a bye, right? If Ohio State beats Indiana, Indiana's going to slide all the way down to like number 4 and still have a bye in the college football playoff. Scotty, does that sound right to you? They've been so far up there, and all their data points and all that stuff are so high. Do you think there's any way that one of those Big Ten teams could lose in the championship game and fall out of a bye?
No, I don't. I think they are playing for the number 1 seed, and the loser will get the 3 or the 4. Yeah.
If you wanted to, you could rest players in this game. That doesn't sound like something Signetti would do.
I don't think either of these coaches are the style that would do that, to be honest with you.
That'd be interesting. That would be interesting. And
Indiana trots out with the younger Mendoza playing quarterback.
Hey, the Texags, Scotty, I know you're a member over there. You subscribe and check out what Texags are up to. Today, they said that if using the metrics that the committee's supposed to use, that A&M should only come down to number 4. I like this argument. I'm loving the argument.
It's wishful thinking. I'm going to tell you who it should be, the Scotty Swingler scale, and we'll see how the committee views it. It should be the Big Ten champ clearly gets the number 1 overall seed. I think the SEC champ should get the number 2 seed. I think the Big Ten runner-up, either team, has done enough to earn the number 3 seed. And the 4 seed, to me, goes to Texas Tech should they win Saturday. I think they should get the 4. If Texas Tech were to lose Saturday, I think then I would be open to A&M having the 4. But I would probably be more inclined, and I hate saying this as the Big 12 homer, I'd probably put the SEC runner-up 4. It's probably what I would do.
The team that loses in the SEC championship game. Okay. All right. I got you.
But I think if I were going to make a bet, I would think by this time next week, we know it's winner of Big Ten, winner of SEC, loser of Big Ten, and Texas Tech. I think Texas Tech winning the Big 12, they should have the fourth.
I think right now Sark is working on an argument to get UT to that fourth spot, get them a bye.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, Matt.
You think they're going to get in?
We do have a chaos scenario here where a couple of really big schools are going to be really angry because, and we talked about this possibility a few weeks ago, if Duke wins that ACC title game Saturday, they're 7-5. If Duke wins that ACC title game, you either put them in as a 7-5 team. I don't think they will do that. Therefore, the 5 conference championship bids, 2 of them would go to the winner of UNT Tulane. They're going to get it no matter what. And James Madison. And if you put both of those teams in, you then have to remove Notre Dame or Oklahoma, and then factor in if Duke wins that ACC title game, the committee might feel more pressure to put in Miami as a representative from the ACC, even though they didn't win the ACC, and that's going to kick out one of those other teams, the Oklahoma, the Notre Dame, one of those BYU, one of those teams sitting on the fringe right now. So we've got some chaos scenarios. I guess my point is the ACC is really hoping that Virginia wins this title game this weekend because that just gets Virginia in as the ACC representative, and it's a lot more clean. If Duke wins, we have a true chaos scenario in how these things play out.
Oh man, this is the Duke. Yes, I'm rooting for chaos. I would love it.
Too.
See what they do. See what they do. I mean, that would be hilarious to see it all come together. All right, we do have Tim Brando is going to join us here in just a few minutes. So let's take care of our folks. Thank you, CNB. Thank you, Central National Bank, our presenting sponsor. We love you. Tim Brando, the legendary broadcaster from Fox, will join us next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you get a call saying they're going to lock you in jail for missing jury duty unless you pay a fine, that's fake. Scammers use scare tactics to force you to act without thinking. Just hang up the phone.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup. From cars, trucks, to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cabin chassis, and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by, let's be friends.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia. Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Home's where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
WhyPersonalLoans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit PersonalLoans.com today.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit PropMoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit VivoSun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
All right, Matt Mosley Show back, Rogue Media Network, and Tim Brando, the legend himself, joining us now. And Tim, it's great to see you. I have been excited to have you on, and it's been a busy, hectic time, but hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And it was great to hear you the other night. Love when you're on these Big 12 games, and thanks for being on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Great to be with you.
All right, was that the wildest, the Sunday coaching carousel? I thought it almost upstaged the NFL games. You know, I cover the Cowboys, and I have for a lot of years. The Cowboys were off Sunday, but I have never had a Sunday where I just kind of spent the whole day monitoring all this craziness, Twitter, everything. You've seen some crazy stories over the years, and I think eventually here I'd like to ask you for the wildest coaching carousel story you can remember. But where did this one rank among the last decade or so?
Oh, it's number one. I mean, it's absolutely nothing compares to this, and nothing has had the impact of Lane Kiffin, because we've never had a college football postseason hanging in the lurch with regard to a coach, an entire team. What are they going to do? And, you know, it's the storyline hasn't really played out yet. I mean, the committee still can do whatever it wants in terms of screwing over Ole Miss because Lane Kiffin left. I mean, that's yet to be seen. We'll maybe get an indicator of that later tonight. In that, god awful Tuesday show that they have to have, in October, that we don't even need to see until next Sunday. But this is a setup day. This is the day where the committee pretty much gives you an idea of who they're setting up to get in and who they're setting up to get knocked out. And as usual, they're going to be setting up the teams that have the big brands, and they're setting up those that don't to get knocked out. Texas, by example, automatically in, no matter what. Forget the loss to 4-8 Florida. They're in. They just beat A&M, number 3 team in the country, and they've got Arch Manning. They were the preseason number 1, and they're Texas. They get in. Screw the fact that Vanderbilt's playing better football right now, has a better record than they do right now, and arguably, they didn't have Ohio State on their schedule, and Texas did. But Clark Lee's team is playing at a higher level, and just ask Tennessee; they'll tell you they were thoroughly whipped in Knoxville by Vanderbilt. And but they'll use they'll use head to head when it matters. They'll use
Mm-hmm.
head to head. They'll use head to head for Notre Dame because they can, and then they'll use something else to make sure that Miami gets in or doesn't get in, based on whatever excuse they want to make up to say that Miami can get in too. And the Big 12 might as well forget about it, regardless of how good Utah, BYU, and Texas Tech all are. The Texas Tech BYU Big 12 championship is going to knock one of the teams out. It's a play-in game. Even Texas Tech, if they were to lose, I think is in peril. They may not get in were they to lose that game, just as BYU would have to win. I don't know that they'll ever take two teams out of the Big 12 when they're trying to sandwich in as many as 6 SEC teams. And that's exactly what they're doing. They are trying to get a half dozen SEC teams in, minimum of 5, of 5.
It almost,
all the other teams, and particularly if you're in the Mountain Time Zone, you're screwed. You're absolutely screwed.
It almost makes you think the Big 12 and ACC should take that deal where they get 2 automatic teams.
Absolutely, they should.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they should. Tony Petitti is not a popular guy with the college football media community because he doesn't do interviews as readily as Greg Sankey does interviews. And to some extent, I get that. And full disclosure, I worked for him for 9 of my 18 years at CBS. He's a smart guy. His idea about having play-in games and earning your bids through the play-in games is a really good one. Okay. I think that bids should be earned, not given. And the closer we get to that, the better. Now, look, the 24 team idea, which he had at the beginning of the season, was like throwing something on a wall that didn't stick. And it is ahead of its time. It's not time for that yet. But I do think the more compelling games that you can put together to determine which 4 teams out of the Big 10 go, which 4 teams out of the SEC goes, and then the 2 each for the Big 12 and the ACC. That's a great deal for those leagues. I've said that all along. And otherwise, you're just going to have the SEC Invitational every year because it's what makes the best TV. And the committee has gotten its marching orders from its rights holder. If all the networks were involved in the postseason as they are in the NFL, if everyone had a stake in this, you wouldn't see the monopoly and the corruption that we're seeing with regard to the teams that get in and those that are left out. Time after time, this is what happens. The committee's not corrupt, but the process is corrupt. That's what's corrupt. And the format structure enables that. The 3 worst words, Matt, in college football and in sports this time of year: all-state playoff predictor. How would you like to be Clark Lee and your team just disposed of Tennessee, blew them out in Knoxville, and you're riding down the highway in your bus to the airport to get back to Nashville from Knoxville, and you've got your TVs on, and you see Reese Davis come on with a graphic that says, all-state playoff predictor, Vanderbilt's chances of getting in the playoffs are 10%. Texas is 47%. How would you like to see that? I mean, so Vanderbilt, unfortunately, even though they are in the preferred league of ESPN, the SEC, they are not a brand team. They lack brand, and this is all about brand bias. It starts with brand bias, and then it's about conference bias, and there's no question that the SEC gets the nod every year with that. Every year. And by the way, I have great respect for the conference. Top to bottom, the most balanced league in America, in my view, is the Big 12. But the SEC this year had greater balance without an elite team. They don't have one team in their league that's as good, in my opinion, as either Indiana or Ohio State. But they do have a bevy of really, 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 really good teams. And they probably deserve to get 4 minimum and 5 possibly. But to try to sandwich in 6 and then guarantee us that we're going to have 5, that's a bit much. That is a bit much. But whatever they can get away with is what they're going to do.
And this goes back to even early in the committee days, 2014. They were setting Ohio State up, big brand, when Baylor and TCU were fighting it out, always knowing that Baylor and TCU didn't really have a chance. They tried to make it appear that they did, but the fix was in.
It was a setup.
Yeah.
TCU fell from third to sixth, and Ohio State went from 8 to 4 that year. So it's brand bias first, okay, and that's the reason why Ohio State is higher ranked than Indiana right now. Indiana, on paper and by measure, just looking at how they've played, deserves to be number one over Ohio State. They do, but they're not. Why? Brand. It's all about the brand.
Yeah, and it's why BYU can't overcome if they lose this game. It's Tech still. Tech has crashed the party, and the committee doesn't know what to do with them.
Yeah. That's enough. We only have one party crasher. We can't have two.
No.
Yeah, and that's the way they view them. That's the way they view the Big 12 in this process and with this format structure. Yormark is going to be really pissed off, and he's got a right to be. But imagine that's a really competitive game. I think BYU will play as great a game as possible. I do think that it's still going to be largely a Texas Tech crowd at Jerry World. But are you going to tell me that Bachmeier and those guys didn't learn something? There's always an advantage in a rematch to the team that lost the first game. I think it'll be a great game. I really do. But no matter what happens, I still see the loser is screwed. I just don't think they'll take two teams. And for BYU, the case that they want to make is that, we lost, but we lost at their place. Now we play a great game. Let's say you lose on a field goal at the end. Shouldn't they go? Yeah, but they're not in the right league. And the argument would be it's the Mountain Time Zone. And really, who do they play? The metrics here, they set this thing up with the understanding that the metrics would always favor the Southeastern Conference. And they do. Even the Big Ten with their two elite teams. And I think both those teams, Ohio State and Indiana, are the cream of the top of college football this year. But what happened with the back half of the season is schools like Michigan, Nebraska, USC, all had chances to be maybe the third or fourth team to step up. Now, I do think Oregon clearly is one of the three that's definitely in. But all those other teams, Michigan, Michigan, Nebraska, USC, were all teams that had the brands that had they gotten hot the last 4 weeks, could have made a case to be a fourth Big Ten team. None of them did. So that opens up another spot for the SEC. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
And so that plus in the Big 12 wasn't the narrative earlier in the year. Think about it. Even during the course of the season, the narrative was, it's Texas Tech and everybody else. In other words, nobody else is really that good. Texas Tech is great. We'll accept them. But nobody else is really that good. And the Arizona State loss looks like, an aberration that Arizona State really didn't get much love for the win. And then, of course, when they lost Tyson and they lost Leavitt, they lost their credibility as a potential team to get in. Had Arizona State not lost Leavitt and Tyson, and they had gotten on a run and had, two losses, they might have had an even better case than BYU. But unfortunately for Kenny Dillingham, that wasn't the case. And those two guys were vital for ASU. They were vital.
It's interesting that Dillingham, I don't know if they came after him or they just took care of him. And I know he's an Arizona State guy, but to me, he was a tremendous candidate. And it's interesting that they went with all those American Athletic Conference. And who knows, a couple of those guys may be great. But Dillingham and what he's done at Arizona State is honestly one of the great coaching stories. It's not quite Indiana, But what he's done at Arizona State after that mess, that Herm and Ray and all that mess that happened there, that's one of the great stories in college football.
It is. And, I give Kenny a lot of credit. And this is where, I do give him a lot of credit because his phone was ringing off the hook. And I know that he basically told his representative, I'm not taking any calls. I'm not. He did the same thing, Lanning. He worked for Lanning. And when Lanning got to Oregon, he made no bones about it. He told Jimmy Sexton, don't put my name in there. I'm not interested. And I'm not sure, but I think Kenny probably has Jimmy too. Bottom line is that president at Arizona State better pony up and give him whatever he needs and whatever he wants, because historically that's what Arizona State's had as its biggest problem. That is a sleeping giant, has been for some time. That crowd is awesome. The location is fantastic. The school is a great school. Plus, it's a party school. Tempe is just awesome. And they sold out every game this year. And Kenny knows he's got momentum gathered. And he's a Chaparral High kid. That's his dream job. He's made that his destination. He didn't have to, but he did. Because I guarantee you, if Kiffin had balked at LSU, they would have gone his way. If Auburn thought or Florida thought Kenny Dillingham was gettable, they would have gone that way too. I think Summerall is a great coach. And I think that there was a little game of chicken going on with Auburn in Florida about his services. And ultimately, Scott Strickland in Florida won the sweepstakes. Summerall will get the job done, in my view. He's a really, really good coach. And a little like Dillingham has been successful, everywhere he's been.
Yeah, it's interesting to look at those careers and go, okay, which guy? Because Fritz had already done some good things, as you know, at Tulane. So Summerall continued to build on that. I always look for the coach like Golish. The thing you'd have to say about him is he went to a place that was kind of in shatters and not much. And he got him going. So that certainly speaks to him. Do you, I would imagine you and Jimmy Sexton have crossed paths over the years. I mean, he would appear to be the most powerful man in all of college football because obviously he has so many of these coaches and he can negotiate all these things. And by the way, Lane Kiffin, certainly, as he said, he's not even looked at the numbers, right? He does not know how much is in his contract. What's up? I've only been on the phone with Jimmy once, and it was because he was trying to represent Art Briles, and sadly, I think Jimmy found out there was one guy at that time that even Jimmy Sexton couldn't get a job, right? And so and that was Art. But that has got to be fascinating. So again, what is he like? And is that kind of a scary thing for college football that he just kind of seems to control all of that, since he has kind of the market cornered on all, 80% of the most talented coaches in the country.
I first met Jimmy when I met Nick Saban, and he was getting the LSU job from Michigan State. And I had a talk show at that time. I did for 15 years, and I retired it about 10 years ago. And I was asking him about Nick because so many people I knew Nick from covering the game nationally. I was at CBS at the time, but I was doing my radio show then for Sporting News Radio. They were in the radio business back then. And he told me that Nick had done the homework on number of players per capita in a state, and that if you looked at Florida, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, and California, those were all talent-rich states for football. But if you looked at each state per capita, there was one state that stood out in terms of a low population base that was producing NFL talent into the college game, and that was Louisiana. And so Nick felt like he could come there, build a fence around the state, and he could immediately turn the thing around, and he did. He got there in 2000. 2001, they surprised Tennessee in the SEC championship, win the conference championship. go on to the Sugar Bowl, blow out Illinois. And then 2 years later, he's winning a national championship at that same bowl game, the BCS title, beating Oklahoma. That's how I met Jimmy. And in agency circles, he's got a lot of rivals, and those rivals have said in recent years some pretty disparaging things, but that's how that business works. It gets nasty. I mean, it does. I had great respect for the fact that the guy was on top of his game and really was able to sell coaches, that many of them that do the same thing. You know, I'm in the performance business too, and we only have about a handful of agencies in sports broadcasting that handle a lot of clients. And I was one of those guys in the beginning that always felt like, hey, if you got like 8 versions of me and you're throwing me up on a wall for jobs with 7 other guys, I really need somebody that's a little bit more in tune with what I want, not what he thinks all of us want. You know, as I've gotten older, I've realized that the people that represent a lot of guys that do what you do have a better relationship with the people that are making the hire at the networks. And so that's really what, in essence, Sexton has done at CAA, which also has a broadcasting arm, as you know. So I think we all have to be in touch and in tune with that. But what's really happened here is Jimmy Sexton has exposed the level of mismanagement and the level of institutional lack of control by the institutions, that they have lawyers, yes, but they are lawyers that get beaten in court. They are lawyers that didn't finish tops in their class. It's like a great defense attorney against a prosecutorial group that's not being paid what that great defense attorney was being paid. He's like the dream team, and they're like the guys that were prosecuting in the OJ case. They get beat every time. They get beat every time. And that kind of power and control has become a bit scary. Now, he doesn't have 14 of the 16 guys that he once had in the SEC, but just a little over 18 months ago, he had 14 of the 16 coaches in the Southeastern Conference. His number's gone down some recently, though, with some firings like the Billy Napier firing and a few others. But I have respect for what he's done. But at the same time, for college football, the problems and the lost money, when you think about all of the wasted revenue, like for instance, LSU finally now is, if you notice, their lawyers have decided to straighten up and fly right. They're going to pay Brian Kelly all $54 million. They're not going to fire him for cause. They're firing him because he didn't get it done on the field, which we all knew that was just garbage that they were trying to pull off for a period of weeks, playing a game of chicken. The game of chicken is over because they found a $200 million package to hire Lane. When you add up the assistant coaches, Lane's deal, plus the players in the NIL, it's a $200 million deal. So clearly they had to find the extra $30 million to pay all 54 to Brian. But when you look at all of that lost revenue, LSU is, I think this month, December, is Ed Orgeron's last paycheck. Ed Orgeron gets his last paycheck this month. So they are paying, at least up until the end of December, 3 coaches, Kelly, Orgeron, and now the new $91 million 7-year deal for Lane Kiffin. What does that tell you? That tells you that LSU has been, a disaster in terms of governance. They have been awful. It's a cluster blank. Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at how they've mismanaged from an administrative standpoint, the finances of their football program. It's that simple. And I'm from Louisiana. All right. It's embarrassing, but it's true. Okay. Is it a great job? Sure it is. Do they have a lot of pride? Is it different, like Wayne said yesterday? Yeah, it is. But politics and football have always been intertwined here. And I'll say this, Lane, you better be as successful as you were at Ole Miss, and you better not have a 4-loss season or a 5-loss season. He had a 5-loss season the year he flirted with Auburn, you might recall. They were 8-1 and finished 8-5 that year, and no one at Ole Miss said boo. You know, he came back and he had multiple multiple winning seasons the next 3 years. Okay, if he loses three games in Baton Rouge, they'll be hell to pay. They may hang on for 2, 3, or 4 years of that, but he could have done all that he wanted at Ole Miss. Could have had his own statue built while he was still in his 50s. He chose to go to LSU instead. That was the bigger get for him. I get it. It's a bigger program with a prouder tradition of championships, but they will not be as patient there as they were at Ole Miss. Not by a long shot.
Well, listen, I love having you, and I want to be respectful of your time because I could do this all day. Last thing I had for you, Tim, Dave Aranda. I've got a lot of Baylor audience.
Right.
He beats Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss in 2021 Sugar Bowl, as you well recall. Bears are sitting up there. I think they finished that year like fifth or sixth in the country. They're thinking, oh, man, the good times are here. NIL portal hits. Aranda was not good at that, as we could have predicted. Very quiet, introverted, does not like doing media, all the things. He now gets to keep his job, not based on success, but based on a weird circumstance with the AD, and they don't have an AD to fire him. Now, at Georgia, at LSU, they don't need an AD to fire you, right? There's always somebody to fire you.
That was clear.
But at Baylor, apparently, the president doesn't want to do it, and they would like to have an AD in place. Are you surprised that it's been so difficult for Dave Aranda? And what do you think of that situation? Because right now it's looking again like a lame duck situation. Bring in a new AD and then see what AD will now have a next season to evaluate things.
Well, honestly, I told a number of people, and again, full disclosure, Mike Rhodes is a guy I have a good relationship with. And my last visit there was during the Arizona State game, which they had a chance to win, played great in, really, but lost on a walk-off field goal at the end of the game. But I said this to people at Baylor last year when they were in the middle of a skid. I said, listen, they're not far away from winning some games here. That was right as they were making the move to Sawyer Robertson as quarterback.
Yeah.
And they got on a run. Back half of the season, they beat a lot of people, and they had a respectable record and wound up a bowl team. This season asked the same question, but the question came after the firing at Penn State, after the firing at Arkansas, after the firing of BK at LSU, and the question was, do you cut ties now or do you wait? And I said, you wait. You absolutely wait. And I thought you waited even if Rhodes had kept his job, because in this cycle, in this carousel cycle, the coaches that your fan base thinks that they would really like to get, they're not going to be available. They're gone. They're going to what are perceived as better jobs than Baylor. Okay, so you needed to wait. Does he have a chance, I think, to restore his presence and Baylor's in the Big 12? I think so. I think that one of the great things about the Big 12 is the balance is so great that the difference between 4-8 and 8-4, or 2-9 and 2-10 and 8-2 or 10-2 is not that great. You're playing a lot of close games. My view is Dave needs an offensive mind that everyone can just rally around. Spavital's a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Jake's a good coach. Been around, knows the area really well. But I think that they need more presence from their assistant coaches that Dave can settle around. He's a really good coach, really good defensive coach. Came into that job as one of the, I think maybe the best defensive coordinator in the college game at that particular point, after Les Miles won the national, Ed Orgeron won the national championship in 2019. His personality is a bit aloof to some, but I think his dignity, His approach with his players is really good. I think they all want to play hard and play well for him. But the reality here is Baylor's got to take a look at itself and its national image, okay? And I think the biggest problem they have is not around the country. It's in that area, in the Waco and surrounding area. And you can help me with this, Matt. You can help me with this a little bit. I think that even after the 21 championship, which I got to see firsthand, called a couple of teams' games. In fact, their last loss before they went on that run to the Sugar Bowl was the one to TCU, which they could have been playing in the playoff. If they had not lost that game to Chandler Morris and TCU that year, Baylor might have qualified for the CFB that year. They lost that game, came back home, and then won a key game, and then beat, of course, Oklahoma State when they were on a run. So my view is this: if they can finally get the residue of the Brazos circumstances out of that community, I know it's a strong faith-based community, all right? I think the combination of that and the student body, for whatever reason, has not embraced the program the way it should, the way it would at most places. Maybe that's because of that residue. I mean, what happened there was beyond the pale. It was awful. And it was a stain that stayed with the program a long time. Kept, I think, a good man and a good coach, Brazos, out of coaching altogether until he just got this D2 job, right? I think it's a D2 job.
Correct.
He just got for a long, long time. Very unfortunate. But I think it also was something that the school couldn't get rid of and the student body couldn't get rid of. And that very strong Baptist community that is Waco, Texas, has been slow to come around. I was amazed that for that Arizona State game that they didn't have a bigger crowd. It was a primetime game, was on national television. They had played Auburn really well in the opener and lost, but they played well. They performed well in that game, I felt. They didn't get any momentum or juice from that game. They need a game early in the season against a quality team at home that they can win, that they can gather some juice from and build some momentum again with that fan base. I think the personnel's not bad. I didn't think their personnel was terribly weak. In fact, I thought it was highly competitive. But I know what made it look bad for Aranda this year was that their offense was actually much better than his defense. And that was his calling card when he came in. And when you lose that edge, and that was his modus operandi coming in, he was a great defensive coach. When you lose that moniker by having teams put 45 and 50 points up, then that hurts your credibility some. I'm a guy, I'll be honest, I'm rooting for Dave. I hope he can have a good offseason, do well in the portal and signing day, because I do think he's a good coach and would be worthy of another year, if nothing else, because the carousel was such that the marketplace had closed Baylor out to really a minimal position in terms of the type of people they could attract. If you can attract somebody that's really going to be great and really satisfy that fan base, I'm all in.
Yeah.
But at this point, I don't think you can get anybody better than Dave right now. I just don't.
Given the circumstances, yeah.
Right.
And given the fact you're talking about the stench of a scandal 10 years ago, Baylor unfortunately has too many of them, and this MAC thing is the latest weirdness. Now, hopefully that won't have as lasting of an impact and they can turn things around. All right. Well, I think that's the reason I like you so much. It's confirmed that behind you have that old Pirates cap, and I'm a huge. I fell in love at the age of 6 with the We Are Family team, and
I got to tell you, that Scrap Iron gave me that. Phil Garner.
Oh my gosh!
He gave me that hat. It's got his name on the bill inside the bill of the cap, and he gave it to me when he was the Astros manager. Ernie Johnson Sr. and I were doing Braves games in the mid '90s on Sports South, the regional cable that at the time Ted Turner owned and later became Fox South when Fox bought up all those regionals back in the day. But Phil used to come on my radio show all the time. And I told him that my high school baseball team at Fair Park in Shreveport had the same uniforms as the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he was like, really? And I said, yeah. And I even showed him a picture of me playing first base and what looked exactly like the Bob Robertson, Willie Stargell, Richie Hebner, Pittsburgh Pirates of 71 when I was playing high school baseball in 72, 3 and 4 at Fair Park in Shreveport. And I showed him the picture. He was like, I got something you might like. And he went in and gave it to me. How cool is that? How cool is that?
That's unbelievable. Yeah. Like Cobra and Pops and the whole gang, man. That's awesome. Well, listen, have a great week. Because this is an interesting time for you because we got football still rolling and then basketball. You jump right in and there's a ton of stuff that Fox has. And I don't know which part I'm sure the streaming people are after you now. So there's no shortage of games out there. Yeah. Tim, I appreciate it. Always love having you. Next time I have you on, I do want to ask you about the first time you ever said, how do you do? I have had that thought cross my mind over the years. So let's tease that for next time. But I appreciate you doing this. It's great to visit with you.
Thank you, Matt. I'll be on this Saturday at noon. We'll start off college football's championship Saturday with a hell of a hoops game. Number 4, Duke at Michigan State at Breslin. Jimmy Jackson and I'll have it at noon Eastern, 11 Central Time. So I'm trading in my football for the round ball, and that's one of the great things about my frustration at the end of every college football season, because so much of the postseason I can't stand, is that basketball starts right away and I jump right in with a game like that, knowing full well at the end we have an NCAA tournament, and that's the only thing the NCAA gets right is the NCAA men's basketball tournament at the end.
Yeah, I hope Jim doesn't get booed out of there. That fandom may remember some of Jim's college days. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon. You bet. There he goes. Tim Brando, the legendary Fox broadcaster, and man, does such a great job. And he's a fun guy. I kind of wish they hadn't have broken he and Spencer Tillman. That was a really unique friendship over the years, and for some reason, and the guy they have him with now does a nice job. But I just thought he and Spencer were a fun team, and they had such their friendship was very obvious to people watching their games. All right, I tell you what, we're going to have some Baylor recruiting to get to and to update you on, and we have another secret guest who's lined up to join us. We'll do that next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform.
At your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
When you strive for greatness, you have a target on your back. When it comes to finances, we're all targets for scammers. But with the right game plan, you can protect yourself. Don't get faked by fraud.
Here's a tip. If you get a call saying they're going to lock you in jail for missing jury duty unless you pay a fine, that's fake. Scammers use scare tactics to force you to act without thinking. Just hang up the phone.
This message is brought to you by Central National Bank.
Baylor Nation rolls along with Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Start with award-winning service and factory-trained techs. Then shop our new and used lineup from cars, trucks, to SUVs, all makes and models. Running a business? We're your Central Texas headquarters for ProMaster vans, cabin chassis, and work trucks. For power and comfort, test drive the Ram 1500, the Motor Trend Truck of the Year winner again. Allen Samuels in Waco, proud partner of Baylor Athletics.
Come by. Let's be friends.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Dive into adventure with scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone, like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on their screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
Golf Partner, the world's largest golf store network, offers more purchasing opportunities than anywhere else. With a dominant market share and a wider selection of quality secondhand golf clubs than our competitors, we make it easy for you to enjoy the game with affordable, top-quality equipment. Golf Partner, overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
Designed to elevate the off-road experience, enabling adventurers to conquer any terrain. For 50 years, you've trusted us on your toughest recoveries, to your most breathtaking destinations, and in countless unforgettable memories.
It is the Matt Mosley Show, and man, you never know who might stop by the program. Again, appreciate all our Twitter audience out there. Scotty always does a great job of having us out there among all the good folks. And then Tim Brando joining us. And Scotty, he's an opinionated man. You know, a lot of times TV people, in fact, I heard Dave Pash, who does national ESPN college football, and he does NFL for one of the teams, and they were at the Cowboys. When did the Cowboys get off to that start? Like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Anyway, Dave Pash was on, and I was just taken aback. He's a nice enough guy, it seems like, but he was like just very, like serious and whatever, and like kind of like everything they asked him, he was kind of like, oh, I'm not going to get involved in that. And then you get Brando, is a legend, has the ability to be all however, if he wanted to. And yet, man, he'll talk about every topic. And again, he was at CBS. He's now been with Fox, and he was with ESPN in the fairly early in the ESPN days. And there's a chance Tim Brando was on College Game Day at one point. I mean, I'm just trying to remember back when it first started, but he certainly has been a huge voice over the years. And that's kind of interesting. He goes straight into college basketball, where he'll do a game with Jim Jackson. And I think he said he has Duke going into the Breslin Center, Duke at Michigan State. And the reason I said that about Jim Jackson is because Jim Jackson played at Ohio State. And so there were some great battles in the old Big Ten, as Jim Jackson would used to go in those places, and he was great. He was an incredible college player. He talked about how the Mavericks at one point had Jalen Brunson and Luka. Well, the Mavericks back in the day, just a reminder, further misery we talk about, they had Jason Kidd, Jim Jackson, and Jamal Mashburn on the same team, the three J's. And Mashburn and Jim Jackson and Kidd had all been among the top players in all of college basketball. And they were right at kind of the same age. And they were on the same team. And it just didn't, they couldn't, it was fun to watch briefly. And I don't know, I can't remember exactly why it, oh, wait a second, there he is. Let's go ahead. I mean, any kind of good college basketball or NBA discussion, I can tell you Grayson Grundhofer would like to be a part of. There he is. Grayson's been out and about. He's had all kinds of stuff going on today. Grayson, welcome back to the Mosley Show. I was just telling the story of Jim Jackson, Jason Kidd, and Jamal Mashburn. This was well before you had joined us in this world, Grayson. But all of those guys were on the same Dallas Mavericks team. So people think like this misery that the Mavericks fans have is like a new thing. It's not. It goes way back.
I mean, there was also a time when you had Steve Nash and Dirk on the same team too.
Correct.
And obviously that didn't last too long and maybe needed to happen in some regards. But then Nash goes on to Phoenix and is just awesome for the Suns. So yeah, there's definitely been some really good players there in Dallas, and only one championship in recent time.
Yeah, and by the way, 2006 we were robbed. I mean, it was.
I mean, as a Spurs fan,
yeah.
fan, we had 2013 where we were completely robbed as well. So I mean, could have won back to back that year, and there were a bunch. Spurs had a chance to win like.
Yeah.
5 in a row.
Although there was one y'all got back in, right? When you were down 3-1. Was that the one? And who were the Warriors playing when Draymond got suspended for part of that series?
That was the Cavs.
That's Cavs. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to remember where obviously the Spurs and Warriors wouldn't have been playing at that point. But yeah, I was just trying to think back, and It's amazing now to see Kawhi, and he's still great when he plays, but to think, and again, Spurs end up with Wemby and they're extremely fortunate the way things went there. But I just think it's hard to believe that you could have a guy like Kawhi in the prime of his career, ready to bring you more titles, and to have it blow up. That's still one of the weirdest stories really in the history of the NBA, that it got that out of hand with the handling of the injury and all, that he had to leave. Because I think if you could have continued building around him, you might have had a couple more titles in there.
Maybe. It's possible. Kawhi's body just continues to break down, as you're seeing with the Clippers. I mean, he can't stay healthy. So I don't know. I know he put a lot of blame on the Spurs staff, but I think at some point it's just your body. But then also, the Spurs drafted Dylan Harper this year and gave him the number 2 jersey. So it doesn't look like Kawhi's number is going to be up in the rafters.
I think that's accurate. And by the way, the Mavericks now have stumbled into, and I'm trying to figure out how they'll lose him, because he will at some point leave after he somehow becomes a star. But the latest is Nembhard. I want to make sure I've got the right Nembhard. Is this Ryan Nembhard? And he's on a 2-way contract. And Grayson, last night he goes off for 28 and 10 assists. And the Mavericks, who didn't see fit to even bring in a point guard this year, have stumbled into one on a 2-way deal. And this kid looks like the real deal. Who knows if he can keep it up? But they may have stumbled into a point guard here.
I mean, he was the most obvious late pick that you could possibly have with how good his brother has been, despite his, physical limitations. I mean, Andrew Nembhard for the Pacers is a beast. I mean, you saw him last year during the Pacers playoff run and the year before. I mean, awesome player, obviously a good basketball family. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense when you're around really good basketball all the time. It helps elevate you. And I think that's what you're seeing with both of those guys, and Ryan, the latest there.
All right. Cooper's doing well. Have you gotten any good pickup games in during Thanksgiving? Did you take a little time away? How's that going?
Not at all, man. I'm actually going to try to play hopefully later today, and I'm coaching, so that's kind of taken some time away from actually playing. So coaching a game tonight, but trying to get some shots up later today. So I've been on a break. I haven't played in like 2 weeks, but I think this weekend I'm going to a bachelor party, and so I think we're going to be playing a lot of sports. So I gotta get my game right for that.
That's a good Baylor thing. My favorite bachelor parties were actually like Baylor people who didn't drink, who would like rent out a family life center or a gym, and everybody would just hang out the night before. that's kind of a Baylor. It's kind of a Baylor thing to do. All right, Grayson. Now you're getting ready for tomorrow. Dave Aranda, by the way, speaking. The first time I can recall him speaking about a deal that didn't involve like a football game. You remember they had the one that they were playing at Amon Carter against Air Force, and it was the horrible day that Nova side had flipped. And the night before, we got the news, and then Dave had to respond to that. That's really the only time he's ever done media with a class. Sadly, this class has kind of started to disintegrate, and they obviously, do they have any Jamarians left? Is there one? They had a lot of Jamarians in this class. Is there one Jamarian left in this class?
There's 2 left.
Wow.
Jamarian Richardson out of Pleasant Grove, and then Jamarian Phillips out of South Oak Cliff. So still 2 more left, despite losing 2 from the class, which obviously was the headliner over the weekend.
Yeah. All right. And what's the latest on this Jordan Clay situation? There was kind of some talk that he was leaning toward Washington. It was not looking good. What's the latest on that front?
So I would still say that there is a lot up in the air there. I do think it's kind of telling that he hasn't made a decision yet. Not telling as in regards to, oh, yeah, he's for sure going to sign with Baylor. But I do think it's given Baylor maybe a little bit more time to try to position themselves to land him on signing day. Washington did a lot for him. He made 2 trips there over the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And so there's clear interest. They came in very late with an offer. But I do think they gave him a very competitive offer and have been a school that has pushed for him late and given him a lot to think about. And so now Baylor's just kind of rallying to figure out, what are they going to value here? I think losing Jamarian Benson and Jamarian Carlton probably gives them a shot at, if they want to still bring him in. But it's just going to come down to, probably a lot of it's going to come down to how much does he value that relationship with Dallas Baker, which has been his biggest reason for committing to Baylor, and then how much does he value, an opportunity NIL wise to go to Washington. I think that's kind of the tug and pull there.
Okay, so some of this money they would save on losing these kids could help them in the portal. What are we talking about there? Like in terms of spots, you lose maybe 2 of your best guys in the class in those 2 Jamarians we were just talking about. What does that savings that you will have, does that create like 2 to 3 people you could maybe get extra people that you weren't going to get in the portal? What are you looking at when you start thinking about people? Because he made no bones about it. Dave Aranda said we need big people. We need to start from inside out. Let's not forget that they missed on a couple of portal guys. Now, I guess you could say, well, maybe they didn't spend a bunch of money on them. I hope not, okay, because it did not work out. How does this class explain to our folks how this savings on the money, the kid going to Texas and going to Michigan, how will that affect the portal?
So let me just start off by these are still big misses. And I do think Baylor's ultimate game plan was to have a good season and then have a really good high school recruiting class and then just build off of what they did a year ago. Unfortunately, they didn't have a good year. And so now you kind of have to pivot a little bit. And I think Texas and Michigan came in late here. Texas had been around for Jamarian Carlton for a while, but I do think they came in late with a bigger offer, more substantial offer. I think Michigan did the same with Jamarian Vincent. And so then Baylor had to make a decision. Are you going to spend a ton of money on a freshman who might have a big impact but hasn't proven it at the college level? Or do you save that money and go to the transfer portal? I think Baylor felt really good about the offers that they had in for those two guys, but obviously when those numbers increased, it's hard to match those. And so now you look for the portal. And I think it's interesting, Matt, because I think a lot of people talk about, oh, you could bring in, 3-4 guys for this money. I think it's all about the caliber. I think you can bring in 2 very high caliber guys for the price of these 2, maybe 3. And I think it just is a matter of how much you're trying to spend, right? I mean, if you look at what Tech did, I mean, Tech was spending a ton of money on their top guys. I mean, David Bailey would have been more expensive than these 2 guys combined. And so I think that's kind of the difference there. So I'm not saying they're going to get the top guy in the portal by any means, but I do think it puts them in position to be competitive with multiple guys that maybe Baylor couldn't have gotten had they signed both of those guys. So they have a chance at going in and trying to figure out if they can bring in a veteran guy with a lot of experience, maybe a guy that has even some more upside. But I do think proven production is going to be the thing that has to be addressed. They need guys who are going to come in and not be projects. They have to come in and be productive immediately in order for Baylor to turn things around next year.
All right. I want to be respectful of what you put up on Sikkim and encourage people to go over there. I did notice there was one player from an SEC team that Baylor maybe could check on that you've talked about in the past with us, and maybe the money was going to be a little too high. But I've been interested, and you don't, again, whatever you're comfortable saying, you don't even have to give the names. But does it look like, Grayson, that from a JUCO standpoint, are there a couple of folks that might, help not make up for losing these 2 top 4 stars, but could make folks feel a little bit better about this class if they're able to close those deals?
I think the first thing is, signing Jalen Battle, the 4-star prospect out of Oklahoma. He's a defensive tackle prospect, 300 pounds. He's kind of the first kind of part of this because I think he will play next year. He's a very talented player, had 13.5 sacks this past year. Really, really intriguing prospect. So aside from him, you mentioned the 2 JUCO guys. Baylor's still in the running for 2 of them, Jalen Thomas and then David Chukwuemeka. Both of those guys are JUCO guys. Baylor's pushing for both. I think Chukwuemeka is kind of the one who Baylor's been in on longer. They just offered Jalen Thomas maybe a week ago, so might be a little late there. But I do think both of those guys are very intriguing. I think, again, it's one of those things where Baylor has to build depth on the defensive line, but they have to build quality depth. And so I think they like these 2 JUCO guys, and they're in a position to potentially, I think, land maybe one of them on signing day. And then they're also looking at a cornerback, Josiah Vilmail, 3-star cornerback. He's between a bunch of schools. I mean, it's like Texas, Arizona State, Kansas State, Baylor. I think I'd probably say are his top 4. I think Arizona's been trying to get in there as well. But he'll be making a decision, and that's a big one for Paul Gonzalez because they just lost Jamarian Vincent, who was their top cornerback in this class. So trying to get one to not replace him, but to come in and be very productive. I know they really like him. And so if they're able to land him, I think that would be a pretty big win for this class as well on signing day.
Boy, they need wins, don't they? The 2027 kids and some of these other recruits that you talk to and when you're making your calls, I would assume most of them had good reactions. I've seen some of that when they said they were bringing Dave Aranda back. I mean, and for people that don't know how this all works, if Baylor had won and gone to a bowl game, that probably wouldn't have made much difference with either of those guys who just decommitted, right? I mean, would that have made any impression upon them?
Not at all. I think this was more about if Baylor had a great season, like if Baylor went like 9-3, I think it would have been fine. I don't think there would have been much of a shift. I do think that when a coaching staff is in the territory that the Baylor staff is, as far as a hot seat goes, which we all can recognize, that anyone that reads anything, we can all recognize this going into next year, that there's a major hot seat here. I think that adds to things. And also, I mean, just being, transparent, like we always, talk about, I mean, the NIL money, some of these schools are more willing to put that into high school recruiting if their jobs are completely safe. And if they're not, you kind of have to go to the transfer portal if you want a quick fix. And Baylor needs a quick fix.
Yeah. anything you're hearing on the AD search? I shared some information yesterday with our audience in terms of like who hasn't heard from them, who they've reached out to. From a timeline standpoint, Grayson, are you guys, where are we? Are you hearing anything about, hey, here are some finalists? I mean, honestly, when I stop hearing from someone, that's when I think, well, maybe they are in the mix, right? Like I'm kind of waiting. I shared yesterday that Wren said he hadn't heard from. I mean, that was the West Virginia AD, and I'm sure again, these things could happen quickly, and you could always play the semantics game. They could be reaching out to their agent and not reaching out, to their person. But how quickly do you think this thing is moving? And it's hard to get a read, isn't it, on exactly who President Livingstone is using here, because we kind of are eliminating. We know some of the big money people are not a part of this process. I do know that they're using Bob Bodine's group, which I think was involved in bringing Matt Rule to Baylor back in the day. But what are you hearing on the AD search?
I would say it's pretty similar to what you're talking about here. I mean, Wren's name has been brought up some, and he's a name that I really like, the West Virginia AD, Wren Baker. I really like him. I think, people keep saying, oh, well, West Virginia finished middle of the pack or at the bottom of the league in the Big 12. And I'm just like, well, that's not really fair, because, he hired Darian DeVries, who left after 1 year to go to Indiana, and they didn't even get his son for basically all of last year. I think West Virginia legitimately might have been a Big 12 contender had, Tucker not gotten hurt. And now they're in Indiana, so he had to make another new hire for basketball. Obviously made the Rich Rod hire, which I think, say what you will about that hire. I think that West Virginia fans, by and large, were probably pretty intrigued by that and pretty happy with that. To get back to their roots a little bit. So he's an interesting name for me. I like him. I think he makes sense. I was honestly surprised that Jeremiah Dickey wasn't just announced quickly. I was kind of surprised by that, because it felt like there was some momentum trending in that direction initially. He's the Boise State AD, was at Baylor. His mentor was Mack Rhodes, all of those things. And maybe you want to get a change there of some kind, but I really thought that Dickey was going to be a pretty surefire candidate early on, but that hasn't happened. So now you're kind of in a waiting game. We've heard other names mentioned, Mosley up at North Texas, but that one doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. It would have only made sense if you're also going to bring the coach with him, I think. That's kind of where things are at. I haven't heard a lot of too many outside names. Heard, there might be some room for getting creative, which I could see. Maybe Baylor goes out and tries to find someone who's previously been at Baylor, or someone who's maybe not working in a official AD capacity right now, but maybe you see the upside in them doing that. So that's kind of where things are at. It's still pretty up in the air. I thought this would be resolved much sooner than it has been, but I still think, maybe within a week or so, I still think this should get taken care of if Baylor is, really serious about this. I mean, they need to get this done. This can't linger on for, more than like 2 more weeks. Like I can't envision that.
Yeah, maybe some folks know, they probably know, Dickey still has relationships with all these people. And to your point, he would have quickly been able to move, and he would sort of know exactly. I think he'd have a plan. I think he'd have his own NIL plan, and maybe the Mac relationship hurts him. But somebody made the argument to me is, Mac might have been at his best when when Jeremiah was around. He was with him for all those years, and Mac obviously by a lot of measures was highly successful. And him stumbling and making these personal mistakes or whatever, failings, happened with no Dickey around, right? So there's some interesting thoughts on that front. Well, I'll be anxious to see kind of your coverage signing day, see what Baylor says. It'd be great if they could get a win like you're talking about, this cornerback. I mean, right now, people are grasping for things, Grayson. I mean, I can barely say his name, Vilal or whoever you were saying at cornerback. If he signs with Baylor tomorrow, I will, I'll act like I've known him my whole life, and I've tracked him for many years, and I've known his family and all of that. Hey, last thing I had for you, Baylor hoops. That Las Vegas, the Players era, which was an interesting thing, and it's going to be even more Big 12 intensive moving forward. I think it was confusing to know like how you win that thing and who advances and all that kind of stuff. But just from a pure basketball standpoint, watching those 3 games, Baylor was not on the level of St. John's. That's okay. I mean, they got plenty of time to get there. Like Kansas State looks horrible right now. You know, last night they lost by like 16 to Bowling Green. But were you encouraged? What were your biggest takeaways coming out of those 3 games watching Baylor leading into Thanksgiving?
I hate that there wasn't a ton to take away from it. And the reason I say that is because I don't know that Creighton and San Diego State are really all that good. And so I'm trying to kind of figure that out and match that with, I don't think they're better than Washington. So I still think Washington is Baylor's best win so far this season. And then the St. John's game happened. And there are some underlying metrics that say that Baylor should have won that game or been more in that game. But watching it, it just seemed like Baylor just does not score at that level. Like St. John's is a bad defensive team. You're kind of seeing that play out now, especially against good offenses. And Baylor just couldn't quite fully take advantage of that. And part of that is honestly, they have deficiencies if their guys aren't playing well. And in that game in particular, Obi Agbem and Dan Skillings did not play well. And Baylor can't really function against a really good team without those 2 guys playing well, without multiple guys playing well. They can't get duds from 2 of their better players. And so, I was encouraged, though, in the sense of, like, I think we know that Baylor is a tournament team. I think we know that Baylor is a competent team that plays really hard. And I think that gets you a long ways in college basketball. Now, I don't think this is a team that's going to win the Big 12 by any means. I still think they're going to finish above the middle of the pack, but still kind of in that jumbled group somewhere between like 6 to 9, somewhere in that range, which is a good year. I mean, if you finish like that in the Big 12, you're probably looking at like a 6 seed, maybe a 7 seed, which is plenty good enough to try to make a run in the tournament.
Isn't it weird, Isaac? The team functions better because he's more of a pure point guard, and he'll make some mistakes, but he's extremely athletic. He's shooting better than we kind of thought. He's not a great shooter, but then Agbem has had his bad moment shooting as well, and it's interesting because it's like Agbem can have a game, and you're like, well, he's averaging 7 assists, and I'll watch that game and go, but I still didn't love how he looked. You know, I don't know. That's been some of my takeaway, but it's like Isaac, that's when they seem to function, and he brings them life. At the second half of one of those games when they were screwing around, I can't remember which one it was, Isaac kind of sparked the thing, got some turnovers, and he's I think he's going to be a key player for them.
He really is. I think one thing you hit the nail on the head there is the energy. I got questions about, why is he not starting for Baylor? I've gotten a lot of questions about that. And I would just say this, look at how he plays off the bench. It's kind of exactly what they need. And so I think that part of it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he still plays a lot. I mean, he and Obi both basically play, the same amount. Obi plays a little bit more. But I think the big thing is when Obi's playing well, I mean, he can score like 20 points in a game. And you saw it against San Diego State. I think he had 18 in that game, was really pretty good in that one. And when he's shooting the ball well, it increases this team's ceiling a lot. But when he's not shooting the ball well, that's where Baylor really needs Isaac to have those really good games. I like what I see from him. He's very athletic. He gets into the paint. He's still not a true point guard in my eyes because he doesn't really facilitate for others very well yet. I think a lot of these guys are still trying to figure that part out. And I think ultimately that is one of the tougher things that I've seen. They don't really share the ball at a super high level. And so I think that part of it is still up in the air. But I do think Isaac does a good job getting into the lane, providing energy. And obviously he's very athletic and plays very hard on defense, which is all very encouraging.
You don't like the fact that their 5-man Ratai and their starting lineup is their best passer?
No, yeah, it's hard to watch sometimes, and he even he gets a little careless with the basketball too, and correct. So it's very it's very interesting to watch. It's a very unique basketball team in the fact that they don't have a true point guard. They have a bunch of guys who are just really athletic, but they're all basically wings. And so it's just it's an interesting thing, but that their length, their size, their versatility, and their athleticism still really does shine in a lot of these games.
Yeah, but I'm already sick of having to hear for a second year, like, they only have 7 scholarship. I mean, it's just like, and I know they've had injuries, but it's just, that's maddening. And J.J. White, who we'll see how long he's out. Ashley's going to have to help us. We got to get Ashley to dig in on this Bodo injury, because it seems kind of mysterious to me that a guy who's dunking and looks nimble in a lot of ways and doing a lot can't get cleared to practice. Like, something's weird about that to me. I mean, at some point you either can go or you can't go, and you got to make a decision and all that, but we'll continue to dig in on that. Grace, I look forward to hopefully seeing you. I'm going to try to be there for the, if I'm going to complain about Aranda not doing media, my thought is I better get my rear down there and, be a part of that media session tomorrow at noon. We'll see what he has to say about the team and react to it all. But Mo, thanks for jumping on with me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, Matt.
There he goes, Grayson Grune from Sikkim 365, and it's been fun having those guys on this year with Ashley and Colt and Grayson. And Grayson is a big hoops head, so it's fun to talk a little basketball with him as well. Who's our other guy? We got another good hoops guy that used to be with Sikkim. Our man, is it Kendall Count out there? He's good on hoops. I like talking basketball with him. And so anyway, good to visit with all those guys and get caught up. Bears play tonight. In fact, Scotty, that's a 7:00 start, and it's against the team. And I looked up there. They've been getting kind of killed, everybody they play, so it should be an easy one for the Baylor men. Scotty was looking this up. The Baylor women play on the 14th up in Fort Worth against University of Texas. We're talking, I think Texas has moved up to like maybe number 2 in the country. The Texas women and the Bears, when they were in the same conference for a lot of years, the Bears just kept them down. Karen Austin and they would try to, or Aston, they would try to, jump up there, and Kim would say, get out, and swat them away like flies. And then they finally hired Vic, an angry man, and Vic slowly but surely kind of got the program going, and he's got them in a really good place. Now, Baylor's got Talia. Bugs was hitting a 3. I'd been really worried. Scotty, we'll take a break here in a second, but I between the Bears' 2 people that have great rebounders, defenders. I mean, Bugs does both of those things extremely well, and they just, the shooting had not been there at all. And then the other night against Grambling, she was knocking down a 3. Got to get the shooting better, and got to get this team going, because you can't be in this league. You cannot be kind of a one-hit wonder. You cannot be a one-trick pony. And there have been times this season where it's like everybody's standing around praying that Talia will bail them out. Now, the good news is Dong, it's D-E-N-G, but I think you say Dong. She's shown signs of finishing at the rim, being creative. She's done some fun things. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from her. All right, Scotty and I have a couple things to share with you. Got a little bit of breaking news. Get your latest caught up on the Dallas Cowboys. Been a very exciting and quick-moving show today with all the great guests we've had. Scotty, let's do some Cowboys. Let's do it next.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Bubble wasn't here, I don't know what people would be doing, like making PowerPoints or something. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
At Covers and All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
Cleanse your body of accumulated toxins and embark on your wellness journey at your own pace. At Global Healing, we provide premium supplements to help your body heal naturally. Start your healing journey today at globalhealing.com and organichemp.com.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
Is your Mac running slow? Mac Booster 8 is your all-in-one solution to clean up 20 types of junk files. Get your Mac running like new again with Mac Booster 8. Visit macboost.net today.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
At Mapiful, we believe in celebrating your journey. Our unique personalized products are designed to boost your confidence. From custom home decor to meaningful gifts, we help you cherish the memories that make you who you are. Visit mapiful.com and start celebrating your story today.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia. Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
whypersonalloans.com. Request a loan anytime. Our partners can offer loans up to $35,000 with varying rates and terms. Review your loan offer with no obligation and decide what works for you. Visit personalloans.com today.
This is what $500,000 in a duffel bag looks like. Actually not real. That's because it's actually prop money. It looks realistic from a distance, but up close you can see it says for motion picture purposes. Visit propmoney.com today to get your money seen or money shot right with Prop Money Inc.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ULIKE.com. U-Like.
VivoSun's mission is to empower growers with stylish and effective products, making indoor growing accessible and enjoyable for everyone. Visit vivosun.com today and get started making growing plants and vegetables easy and automatic.
Oh, it's Mosley. It is the Matt Mosley Show on the Rogue Media Network. As we just roll right into, man, the day, it goes by fast when you just have lots of information, lots of incredible guests. And Scotty, join me if you will. My goodness. And let's do a little campus. We hadn't really gotten to talk a whole lot. We talked a ton of college football with Tim Brando. I thought he was great. And then we had really nice work from Grayson Grundhafer joining us. Scotty, this Baylor program had a chance to set an all-time record for most Jamarians in a recruiting class. And we were we were set to have 4 Jamari. That's amazing. And I would love somebody to do like a little deep dive. And Scotty, by the way, make sure your sound's on because I wanted to hear your laughter there, but I did not hear it. So there it is. There it is. You were silent laughter. I could see your mouth moving. Hard to do behind the beard there, but now down to 2 Jamarians. It's amazing to lose 2 Jamarians and still have 2. And see, I've always liked kind of Jamarian, but I noticed my man Grayson said Jamarian. So let's go with however Grayson, because he's the one that's like knee deep in all this recruiting and everything. And then the other guy that, Scotty, and you can kind of do this as you continue to do, please bear with me. But let's the podcast that's heard each Sunday during the football season and really throughout. Scotty, let's keep our eye on this Vilal or Vial, even though I went all those years Spanish and I still kind of don't really know how to roll the R's or do the stuff, but it's like Vilael or something. And I like this kid. Like, this would be a good get. Now, the problem is the Arizona Wildcats, bear down, Arizona, and others have jumped in on this youngster. This would be a good get for the Bears. But, Scotty, I guess we should not be shocked that with the Baylor season ending with a whimper, 5-7, that there were a couple of headliners that the Bears could not bring home. And I think the tendency will be to, why couldn't Keenan or Dallas, that's kind of unfair, I think, because it's a group that the team needs to, the whole staff should get credit when they get somebody, and the whole staff should get blamed when they lose people, in my opinion.
Well, sure. And let me bring some silver lining to the conversation. Not that I am Mr. Optimist about the state of Baylor football. Hear me. I have been equally disappointed and angry with everybody else. But this came out about 20 minutes ago. Quinn Murphy, the star quarterback, saying, "I'm too real to flip." Sick him. So it appears as though Baylor is going to sign their best quarterback prospect in a decade, which is good news for the Bears. And by the way, that could, I don't want to have false hope here. That could be good news in the Jordan Clay thing. Matt, I was hearing as early as Saturday night into Sunday morning that Jordan Clay, who would be the best receiver commit Baylor's picked up in a very long time, was ready to flip. Crystal balls came out at recruiting sites across the country saying, he's going to be a Washington Husky. Matt, we're into Tuesday afternoon, and unless I missed it on Twitter, and I don't believe I did, Jordan Clay has still not officially flipped. It appears as though he's going to make a signing day decision between Baylor and Washington. And maybe he still flips, Matt. Maybe he's still a Washington Husky. But I think the fact that Quinn Murphy and London Smith, the talented receiver from Waco University, have both reaffirmed their commitment to Baylor in the last 24 hours might just be good news if we're talking about the potential to get Jordan Clay. And I don't want to reveal too much here. There was a current coach on the coaching staff who reached out to a friend of mine and said, don't sweat these recruits too much. 17-year-olds shouldn't be counted on for instant impact. But here's what I'm telling you. If there's a 17-year-old who's going to make an instant impact, it's going to be Jordan Clay. It's going to be Jordan Clay. Baylor's receiving core, top 5 receivers from this season are all gone. That includes Michael Trigg. You're going to be looking for playmakers in the portal that can do that. But if you can get one of the, 10, 12 best receivers in America to come to Baylor, don't kid yourself. We've seen freshman wide receivers make a difference every season in college football. So I am really interested to see if they can land Jordan Clay.
Very interesting. And that would be good. Isn't it funny that when it starts going the wrong direction, like even just keeping one guy, right, of the 4 stars, you're like, yes, big win, but that's just the way it goes. Yeah. And I tried to kind of say that yesterday, Scotty, as you'll recall. I think that's correct, what they're saying, and I think that's why you're hearing Baylor go, well, wait, you could get – and Grayson's doing a good job of kind of keeping it real. Yes, he works for Sikkim 365, which is a Baylor fan site, right? But he digs in. And one thing I like about Grayson and the way he kind of covers the team, you know, if you wanted to just like only be positive about Baylor, you would like hold off on getting it out there when somebody decommits or somebody's leaning toward decommitting. And they don't do that, right? They get in there and they go, here's the latest information and here's what they're saying and here's which way they're leaning and everything. It's a major setback for the Bears to lose those people. They can try to play it down. Now, what's interesting is he said losing Jamarian and Jamarian could get them with that money, you could get 2 players in the portal, probably not 3. We're talking about 2 premium players in the portal. What does that tell me? It tells me Jamarian Vincent and Jamarian Carlton were at least getting somewhere in the neighborhood of $300,000 to $500,000 each. Okay? Now, I have been told that Jamarian Carlton got $1 million to flip to Austin. Sounds a little high to me. I'm just saying that's what I was told. Now, I'm also aware that when Baylor starts losing people, it happened in basketball with Rob, right? Like, that was funny. His last name.
We heard
Rob.
it.
Okay, I didn't mean to do that. It just happened, and then I caught myself. I'm like, that actually worked. All right, that Rob Wright Baylor had signed him to a contract for $1 million, and then he went off and got $3 million at BYU. And I think most people would go, well, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I don't know. Did Baylor get a chance to really match? Did Baylor have any chance? I mean, the bottom line is if these contracts meant anything, once you signed, I had that happen to me one time. I said, I'm staying at this place. And then another place came in for a lot more money. They're like, well, you told us you were staying. I'm like, well, the circumstances have changed. So I'm have a little more. I just don't like Rob Wright's dad. He's the one that's kind of he's a little bit of the punk in all this, I will say. All right, Scotty, let's, as we're getting ready to say goodbye, let's say a word about the landing, the great Brazos Landing. And Russell Lindsay is coming home. He had a wonderful member of the Lindsay family had a medical procedure. I don't want to get too far into it, but it was tough. This is a big time tough dude. He's the one Aggie of the family. Most of them are Baylor Bears, and Russell's a very highly accomplished guy. And he had to go somewhere to get a procedure done. And it's tough. These things are tough, but he is coming home here in the last hour or so, or the last 24 hours. He's making his way home to Central Texas. And we're excited about that, to get a great member of the Lindsay family, Russell Lindsay, back in. Ryan's a friend of mine that has been an NBA scout and was a good basketball player in college and knows the Baylor coaching staff really well. That's Ryan Lindsay, but his older brother, Russell, has been dealing with some medical stuff, but he's a tough dude, man, and he is headed home. So we're very happy about that. Shout out to the Lindsay family, Claude, Becky, Ryan, and then I think they have a grandson who's going to be headed off to Ole Miss soon. I don't know if he's going to follow. Oh, by the way, Scotty, speaking of that, they're letting – I just saw that breaking news from a little bit ago. They're letting Charlie Weiss Jr., the offensive coordinator, who had gone with Lane – breaking news. He's coming back, and they're going to let him coach. So they said no to Lane, but they are going to let the offensive coordinator for Ole Miss. To me, this is an olive branch. I do think Lane is as big a punk as he can be. I do think he does kind of feel bad about leaving these kids hanging. So in addition to Pete Golding, defense coordinator, becoming the head coach, Charlie Weiss Jr. is going to come back and coach the offense through the playoff. Okay? I think that's kind of cool. I think that's fair. Let the OC do his thing. Now, you're going to have a fox in the hen house. You're going to have fox in the hen house. You're going to have him like Trinidad. Hey, Trinidad, you're going to love it in Baton Rouge, man. We got a spot for you in Baton. So you are letting the fox into the hen house in having Charlie Weiss Jr. I think Charlie Weiss Jr.'s dad's still getting paid by Notre Dame, isn't he? He's still getting paid by Kansas. All right, this is when we've already said goodbye. This is when I do all my jokes at the very end. The Mosley joke series starts. Charlie Weiss Sr., okay? The man was owed a lot of money by a lot of schools. Notre Dame and then Kansas. And Charlie, his best days by that point were behind him, but boy, he was owed a lot of money. The Weiss family, if they know anything, it's how to make money. But the Weiss Jr. seems like a talented young coach. And you know what? Let's let him coach Ole Miss to a CFP championship. And then next year, he would beat at LSU, and let's go hire another LSU assistant. Charlie Weiss Jr. to Baylor. All right. Oh, no, people have said I got to be nicer to Dave, and so I should not. That was a little much. Hopefully, Scotty, you've already cut me off, and no one heard that. Dave Aranda, going to turn it around with the Bears. I'll be down there to cover signing day, signing Lapalooza. What do you call that? Lapalooza? What was that? All right. One time recently, I was talking like this at the end of the show, and Scotty just cut me off. I think he said he did it unintentionally, but I think it might have been intentional. For Scotty Swingler, for our friend Elizabeth, for the Rogue Media Network, and for Pete Souza and his great hair, this is signing off. This has been the Matt Mosley Show. We'll see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock straight up.